Welcome to the Divorce Podcast, where we explore relationships, divorce, separation, and parenting apart. This episode is part of our new mini-series where we answer your questions, discuss current news and events, and share practical bite-sized tips. I'm your host, Kate Daly, a relationship counsellor, divorce specialist, and co-founder of Amicable, the online legal service for separating couples. This week, we're going behind the headlines of Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola and his ex-partner Cristina Serra's divorce. Pep and his ex-wife Cristina married in 2014, but they've actually been together for nearly 30 years. They have 3 children, aged 24, 22 and 17. Reports claim that they've decided to use the one lawyer, one couple approach to decide how to split their money and property and make their child arrangements. So why would Pep and Cristina choose the one lawyer, one couple approach? Well, after 30 years and 3 children, an amicable divorce is obviously far preferable. Starting things off on the right foot and keeping things stable and happy when there are children involved is incredibly important. And perhaps it's this that's driving them and that they recognise. The other aspect is a one lawyer, one couple approach is much more affordable than going to 2 separate lawyers, having 2 sets of polarised interests and fighting it out. We know from experience that lots of celebrities tend to do this, and that can be extremely expensive, both in terms of the cash, but also in terms of their reputation as well. Of course, that kind of fighting in public will also have an impact on the children. So an amicable approach is far preferable if you're in the public eye and in the spotlight. We also have to be cognizant that certainly in the UK, the law has changed around privacy. So if you're a celebrity couple in the UK, then divorcing now means that you have the possibility of having your case made public. Now, this can be a real motivator to try and do things away from the court arena and keep things on a much more amicable footing. Obviously, it's a lot more affordable, and Pep and Cristina are not short of a penny. However, wasting family assets on expensive legal battles can be a real drain on resources, and it can be incredible how quickly huge amounts of bills and money can rack up. So, for choosing a more amicable way where money can be divided in a much calmer and more precise way is a real boon to people. Of course, there's a reduction in conflict as well. If you're working together with a single person helping you, there's a single viewpoint that's given. So instead of you going off to your lawyer and hearing your best case scenario, them going off to theirs and hearing their best case scenario, instead what you have is the presentation of what life could look like and what the law might say, but you're hearing it at the same time and you're hearing it together. And that makes it much more easy to understand where differences in opinion can be, but it gives you the opportunity to air those differences in the moment rather than let them build up into entrenched positions. Of course, if you're doing it in the one lawyer, one couple model as well, you will also reduce the amount of time that you have in proceedings. And it means that as a couple, you can continue to communicate directly. That's going to feel much more normal and natural, particularly to your kids, than if you go the separate lawyer route where you might be told not to speak to each other directly. And that can create real tension in the home, particularly if you're still living together. Now, I'm not suggesting that Pep and Cristina are still living together. It looks like they've separated physically, and it looks like that happened quite a while ago. So for them, they will have normalized and created a new way of living, which is together as parents, but separate as a married couple. So it can feel more natural if you've already separated and things aren't tense between you to do this kind of model where you work with one person rather than 2 separate people. It promotes communication, as I've said, and that can only be a good thing because even if your kids are grown up like Pep and Christina's, you'll still need to talk about things as a family, and there may be grandchildren in the future or graduations or accomplishments to celebrate, you'll still want to do that together and you'll still want to be part of the children's lives. So the more you can do to practice overcoming difficulties and working out how the family is going to work, the better. This will really help you in your future onward life as separated parents. It doesn't really matter whether you've got simple assets or complex assets. Whatever the situation is, whatever money, property, earnings you have, using the one couple, one lawyer approach can really work. It means that you keep more of those assets on the table to be divided for yourselves rather than giving a big chunk of those assets away to the legal profession. And this approach can work with any level of wealth. So whether you've got a small pot of money that's really tricky to try and divide up between you, or whether you've got lots of assets where you might be squabbling over what part of those assets are marital and what you brought to the pot, it doesn't matter. The one couple, one lawyer, or the working together with one professional, that can really help keep the amount of wealth you have for the family rather than dispersing it. It also gives you the opportunity to think about shared goals. Just because your life as a married couple is ending, it doesn't mean that you're not going to share aspects of your life. As I've said, particularly when you have children, there may be shared goals that you want to work towards and things that still remain important. When you've spent as much time together as Pep and Cristina, you will have developed a deep relationship. And it might be that you still obviously want the best for the other person. They might be the mother or the father of your children. So it would be natural to want good things for them still. So having shared goals about how you might divide up wealth, what retirement might look like, all of those things become important and possible when you're working with a joint professional. It allows you as well to make decisions that are in the family's best interests. So not just the two of you and your individual interests are taking into account, but when you're working together with one professional, you can start to make decisions about family and how you're going to parent children together or how you're going to fund children if they're at the university stage or later life. You can make joint agreements on what you're going to do about house buying for your children or how you're going to set your children up for financial success in the future. There's all sorts of things that you will be able to bring to the arrangements when you're working with one professional that ultimately will make a better outcome for the whole family and will save money. So is sharing, this idea of sharing one professional, whether it's one couple, one lawyer, or services like amicable, is it as rare as the media likes to make out? Well, drama sells. So often we get snippets into the lives of celebrities where they're fighting or there's conflict. But when people try and do things in a more emotionally mature way, sometimes that doesn't quite get as much clickbait and it doesn't make the headlines in the same way. The one lawyer, one couple approach isn't just about affordability. It's more often motivated by a desire to preserve a good relationship, avoid unnecessary conflict and stress, and maintain a strong foundation for the whole family. For more information about separating and co-parenting, please visit amicable.co.uk, where you can explore our resources or book a free advice consultation. And of course, you can find me on LinkedIn and hear more about new podcast episodes by subscribing for updates and visiting thedivorcepodcast.com or find us on your favourite listening platform. Finally, we'd love to know how we can help more. So please share your questions on divorce, separation and co-parenting with us at hello@amicable.co.uk. You never know, they might be the topic of the next episode. Thank you for listening.